Alright, I did the Rothrock Trail Challenge today. Made my 4th race this weekend. It was like 16.5 miles, 4,000 feet of gain. I finished 3rd overall, 2nd male. It was probably step by step the hardest race I've done. There were so many damn rocks. I don't really think there was any, well, there wasn't really any spots to run except for maybe a half mile during the whole race that you could actually like run. Other than that, it was rocky, bouldery, hot as hell. It was probably in the high 80s, at least humidity. With the humidity, there was like a half mile on the road real quick before we hit up to the trail. And then there was like 1,000-foot climb, well, 1,000 total feet, next like mile and a half. So within 2 miles of the race, you had 1,000 feet, so 25% of the incline done. I paced off of 2 guys in the beginning. I even told him, I was like, look, I'm pacing off you guys so I don't have to do more work trying to look for flagging and whatnot, because it just saves a bunch of energy. And I was like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I was like, that's what I'm doing. Because I was hoping later on in the race I could just, you know, the energy I saved, I could, you know, turn it on and maybe like get ahead of them. But they, like, I know the guy who won knew the course and I didn't. This is the first year I did this one, so I really didn't know how to attack it or how my body was going to hold up being the 4th race of the weekend. It actually held up well because I think, again, because I paced off those 2 dudes the first like 4 or 5 miles. I mean, it was a fun race, but the technicality and all the rocks just made it suck ass. I don't know how many times I've hit my toes today. I didn't trip at all, but I did chicken wing a damn tree after an aid station. I don't know if you can see this. This whole arm is going to be like completely bruised tomorrow. I don't know how I chicken winged it, but I think I went to look back, and as I turned, I just went right into a tree. But after that, like 4 or 5 miles, pacing off those 2 dudes, there was like a steep descent, and I'm not running down these descents with all the rocks, you know, because I got to go to work, so I didn't want to fall and get hurt. Well, they took off as I pulled back, and then I thought I got lost because the flagging on that first real steep descent wasn't the greatest. So I hesitated a lot there, and then we teed off to a road, well, onto a road, we'll say for maybe like 3 or 4 tenths, and there was only like 2 flags in that section, and I hesitated a lot, and I started heading back before I went straight ahead again, because just there wasn't a flag that I could see, so I wasn't sure if I was going the right way. That was like the only really time on the course that I was confused, was that steep descent and then that tee right afterwards on the road. Everywhere else was pretty good. They had most of the turns with arrows today, like an orange arrow. I think it was color orange, might have been reddish, whatever, with black arrow sign pointing in the direction you needed to turn. So that was pretty good. Otherwise, again, couldn't really run it too much of the course, so I was really taken out of my element. Even though I was destroying hills a little bit early on, the descents just killed me, you know, not being too confident, not wanting to get hurt. So that's where I lost a lot of time. I think first was 7 minutes ahead of me. In second place, which was the first female, was 3 minutes ahead. I think she was 3:04. He was like 3 hours, and I was like 3:07, which I'm fine with. I mean, if I knew the course, I probably could have pushed a little more, or even that first 4 or 5 miles, if I wanted to jump out, I definitely could have saved a bunch of time there. But I didn't want to blow up, and I didn't know how my body was going to hold up. Because today the goal was to get points for the Allegheny Trail Runner Series, cushion my lead a little bit. Second place in the series, was only 10 points behind. So I had to come today. I was debating on not even coming, but I had to show up to get some points. So I had to stay ahead of the second place. I think he ended up finishing like 8 places behind me. So I really widened the gap a little bit today, which is nice because that takes a lot of pressure off if he shows up for all the rest of the races. I don't know, I just kept running. It sucked pretty much all day long. It was really hot. I actually wore my waist pack again today with the 2 bottles in it. That might be my go-to from now on, because now I'm actually comfortable wearing it. I know in years past it would just like chafe my back and around my waist, but I think with my new 2XU compression shorts, it doesn't do it as much. And maybe that couple pounds that I did lose since January, I think maybe my back isn't as fat as it once was, so it doesn't stick out as much, so it doesn't, like the tips of the bottles don't dig in, because that's what would happen before. But it seems to hold up, and if I could just refill them at the aid station instead of wearing a vest for my hydration, you know, it makes me a lot harder because I have to wear a shirt. So this might be my go-to now. It's one of those things you ever constantly evolve and change as your body changes, it gets stronger, you know, how your hydration is and whatnot. Because the 2 bottles still let me do water in one and electrolytes in the other to balance myself out. And I've been using that Noon, I think cherry limeade, I think flavor I have. It seems to be working a lot better than the Hydrolyte I've been using for the last couple years. It's not as overly powering, and it gives me better energy, I think. It might even have some caffeine in it, I don't know. Either way. Then after that tea, there's like an aid station, is what I was looking for. I saw a couple people coming behind me in the straight stretch. I think I was a second place female. She got me on the next semi-flat area. I think that's, or no, I didn't see her for like another mile or two, and I was still in third. I was still in third place at the time. The 2 guys were ahead of me that I paced off of. I just started, well, I figured I wasn't going to catch them the rest of the race, so I just sort of went into like comfort zone mode, save my place position type mode, until she came up behind me. And then as we were, actually was having a conversation with her as we were running, and I got geared back up, and we were running a pretty good pace, and I started picking it back up. I got re-energized a little bit, because she was encouraging me, I was encouraging her a little bit. Then we actually caught up to the guy who was in second place, overtook him, so she became second, and I was like I was third again. We did jockey back and forth a couple times, depending on the situation, but I was more content just staying back and not having to be in the lead, having to watch for flags. Then there was another really rocky downhill section. Me and her were still together running, and this dude came flying down. The dude who finished 4th right behind me. We're just like, oh, go ahead, you know, we don't want to get hurt. Then he took off, and then at the aid station, it's like at the bottom of the hill, I dipped in the water real quick, got a drink real quick, some Gatorade, I think it was red. And then there was this big ass boulder hill. When I say a boulder hill, just picture like the Frozen Snot type hills, like a big boulder beast type field. We did that for like half a mile or so up. That sucked. Then like she and him were ahead of me, so I was in 4th at the time. I was content with that. I could see them in front of me for the most part. I did lose him in one section for maybe like a mile. Then he popped it back into view. And actually, that was probably the runnable section of the course. I finally caught back up to him, passed him up. I think right before I actually passed him up, I almost stepped on a snake. Well, I know I almost stepped on a snake. I don't know what it was at the time. I thought it was just like a water snake or like a brown snake. But at the finish line afterwards, talking to people, everybody saw a couple rattlesnakes on the course. My buddy was even holding one down to get it off the course as people went by. So I think it actually might have been a rattlesnake that I almost stepped on. Even though it was only like this big, that's what the people were talking about. They just saw there was a small one and then a big one. I think that was the small one, roughly halfway or so, give or take a mile either way. But I don't even know if I could even have stepped on it. I just kept going. I didn't look back. I just held my foot up a little bit longer than normal as I almost stepped on it and just kept going. And then after I caught that guy and passed him, I think that's about time the half marathon people merged with us. Yeah, there was a little bit of an incline because I passed a couple of the half marathoners on it. Let me see what else. Yeah, then I started getting into cruise mode again because I figured top two finishers I wasn't going to catch, so I wasn't really concerned. Again, I was going more for points than anything today than trying to win. I didn't really want to blow up not knowing the course. I probably could have ran a lot harder and, you know, risk tripping or blowing up, but to me it just wasn't worth it today. I played it smart. Plus I want to be able to race next weekend, the Path of Flood, healthy. Then after the last aid station, there was a long climb. I remember seeing a guy or two on that section that I passed. But then there was that downhill again, and the dude passed me back up. So I dropped back into fourth for a while. Eventually, because after the last aid station, there's only 3.5 miles to go. So after he passed me up, I just figured I was going to be in fourth, but I tried to hang with him a little bit. It didn't get as technical for a while, so I was like right on his ass a little bit. You know, within like 2-3 seconds, I wasn't like on like 2-3 feet on him. And then about like a little bit over a mile to go, like something just seemed familiar, and I was like, hey, isn't this the section that we came up on? And he says yes. So I knew the course was like only had a mile to go, and I was thinking it was like 1.5 to 2 miles. So I just tried to stay with him a little bit on the like the last little bouldery section was more like flat rocks that you could actually like step on, not like the jaggered and, you know, whatever, diagonally, all kinds of different crazy direction rocks that we were running on all day. And I just like waited so he could pop out on the road again. I tried my best to hang with him. I knew if I could be within 5 seconds of him popping out on the road, I could take him on the road. And that's what happened. We get on the road, I just went into like road mode. Finally was able to like open my legs up a little bit and take off. So I passed him that last little like half mile or whatever before the finish. So I got like 2 more points for passing him, which is nice. Other than that, I came in 3rd place at like 3:07-ish. The pond that they have there, it's a big thing like after the end of the race at like Tussey Mountain, because that's where it's at, like the ski resort. Not on the ski resort side, but like on the opposite side of the road, they have like a little pond and stuff, like with a pavilion. That's where we had registration at. So then everybody just goes and gets cooled off in the pond. I just dropped my waist pack and my iPod, because I did wear music today. I didn't want to hear myself breathing, and I think that helped me a lot today. Concentrate more on the race, then listen to my breathing and getting out of the game mentally. Helped me stay focused a little bit more. And I went in there, I almost cramped a couple times because it was just so cold, and then after being so hot, it, you know, the muscles just wanted to tighten up too much. Then after that, that was pretty much it. Waiting around for my buddy, because my buddy drove me up. Him and his girlfriend drove me up this morning so I could get an extra hour's sleep on the drive. Food was good afterwards. I had some awesome burger. I don't know if it was just because it was good or if it was just because I was so hungry at that point, not having eaten for like 6 hours. Yeah, I guess that was about it. Watched most of the people finish, but yeah, it was definitely a technical course. Again, I don't know if I would go back, at least not race it per se, maybe just go back for fun instead of trying to like bust my ass a little bit or go for points. But I think it's a pretty good crowd. Everybody seemed friendly, like a normal trail race. And I guess that's about it for this one. Again, I'm happy with how I finished, with all things considered. The heat, 4th race of the weekend, and not knowing the course. I did get lucky. I finished probably a half an hour before it sprinkled and downpoured for a couple minutes, even though it might have been refreshing as I ran. But then again, I wouldn't want to run on slippy rocks or whatever, so that was a plus. It's actually raining now again. It's been hit and miss since I finished, but oh, whatever. Mission accomplished for the weekend. Won 2 races, finished second in one, finished third in the other. So I raced what, 16 plus 5 is 21, plus 13, 34, so like 37 miles of races this weekend, with I think like 7,000 feet of gain. So fairly decent race weekend with elevation and miles, and really couldn't ask for more. I mean, I could have hoped to win all 4, but I was just happy to at least win one and then take the stack series, so whatever.